Hey, what's up YouTube? We have a little different video format today. We're on the computer. We're going to be diving into why I chose a cattle dog over an Australian Shepherd. So there's some key differences that we're going to point out. Cowboy is right here, ready to assert his position in this matter. And let's take a look at the computer. Really quick before we do, guys, as always, make sure you hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. We're almost to 1,000 followers. We are the fastest growing cattle dog channel on YouTube, thanks to Cowboy. Yes, I know. Subscribe. All right, guys, we have the American Kennel Club pulled up. If you guys aren't familiar with the AKC, I find that hard to believe. If you're shopping for a dog, they are pretty much the first thing that pops up on Google for most dog-related questions. So they're a good source to go to for general kind of questions, general overview of breeds. So that's where we're going to start. Compare and contrast these two breeds on AKC, what I've noticed, how that lines up with them, with my personal experiences with these two breeds, and then kind of go into the reasons why I chose what I chose. All right, so starting with the Australian Shepherd, you can kind of see, smart, work-oriented, exuberant. You're going to find that both of these breeds are extremely intelligent herding breeds. Pretty much any herding breed is going to be very, very smart and work-orientated. I would say the exuberant part is going to be something that's different when comparing with the cattle dog. Just curious and pleasant. You can kind of tell the difference that, these guys are very bounding up to you, friendly. Look at that smile. They're probably going to be more friendly with more people, whereas the cattle dog is pleasant. They're going to acknowledge these people, but they are more business orientated. And if you are a possible threat to their property or people, then they're going to keep an eye on you more so, I would say, than an Australian Shepherd. But kind of scrolling down the list, we're going to check out life expectancy, 12 to 15, 12 to 16, pretty similar. I'm not going to go through all of these stuff because you guys can go on here and compare yourself. But, life expectancy is important when considering what breed you're going to get. These are both pretty hardy breeds, though. I would say just because the Australian Shepherd is a more common breed, you can see more health issues. That just tends to be a common trait, is more common breeds are bred more, and it just kind of leads to, breeding for certain things, which isn't great for health problems. You see that with examples like Labs and Dobermans. So overall, though, these are both hardy, ranch, tough breeds, so that isn't a huge concern. All right, affection level with family. I would say the Australian Shepherd is more affectionate with more members of the family than the Australian cattle dog, because the cattle dog can be very one-person orientated. I think all dogs can be one-person orientated based off who feeds them, who trains them, who spends the most time with them, exercises them, and whatnot. That's a cute little red. But overall, I would say the Australian Shepherd is probably going to spread that love around a little bit more than Australian cattle dog. Good with young children. We just switched back to the Australian Shepherd. They definitely take the cake here. They are just probably going to be more patient with young children. Their personalities tend to be more forgiving, whereas an Australian cattle dog is going to be more not as tolerant with BS, basically. Good with other dogs, I would say they're about the same. Just depends on how you socialize them really there, because Cowboy's great with other dogs. We focus on that a lot. That's not a cattle dog, that's a Frenchie. Okay, and then let's see, shedding level. That was a big factor for me, guys. So shedding level, like we go over here, we go look at images, and you're going to see the difference in these two dogs' coats, and their coats. Coat is a big thing for me when deciding what breed I want, and I'm not a huge fan of hair. That being said, Cowboy sheds a lot. Cattle dogs shed. They have thick double coats. But when just comparing these two, this one is twice, 3 times longer, and they're just the burrs and stuff. The people I talk to who have them, they get stuck in there, and it's just can be a nightmare. Whereas, Cowboy will be playing all day in the dirt and mud and whatnot. We get back from the trail and somehow, I don't know how, but like the dirt just falls off of his coat and rolls off of him. And if I brush him, he's pretty clean. So that was a big deciding factor for me. I also, kind of moving off of that, aesthetically, Australian Shepherds are beautiful dogs, but they're a little flashy. And whereas, the cattle dog is very kind of tough, rugged looking, utilitarian, more minimalistic, and that's just kind of what I prefer. But I know a lot of people are attracted to Australian Shepherds. That's probably why they're so popular, is for their looks. But I know we all shouldn't decide on a dog just by its looks, because that will get you into trouble. So kind of going down their list here of like social, I would say the Australian cattle dog is more protective than the Australian Shepherd. I think they're both good watchdogs, don't get me wrong. But if I was going to be walking into the backyard and, between these two dogs, I'm not entering the yard with this blue heeler here, whereas this looks like a friendly, fluffy Australian Shepherd. So that's kind of another reason that led me towards a heeler, is they're more of a deterrent, I would say, from a guard dog perspective. So that was definitely another factor that I liked heelers more than Australian Shepherds. And also their personalities. They just tend to be a little bit more wary, like I said earlier, whereas Australian Shepherds are more friendly. Moving on to, trainability levels, they're both extremely high. I don't think there's really much of a difference. You're going to be able to train both these dogs to do anything that you know how to train them to do. They're so smart. Energy levels, they're both, at the top of the charts. Mental stimulation needs, same thing. Let's see. Interesting. It actually said the Australian Shepherd needs more mental stimulation than a heeler. I don't know if that's true. I would say they're about the same. Barking level, though, Cowboy barks a lot, but this isn't true for Cowboy. He barks a lot, but Australian Shepherds, almost every single one that I've met barks a lot. Like, I've met some quiet cattle dogs, but Australian Shepherds are definitely a vocal breed. So that's something to consider. I personally don't really like a lot of barking. I was kind of hoping this was true with Cowboy, that he wouldn't be very vocal, but he's vocal. And his bark is so high-pitched. I'm used to like this deep bark from like Labs and Rottweilers, but I don't know why his voice is so high-pitched. But anyways, moving on to size. Cattle dogs, you got 35 to 50 pounds, although most people I talk to agree that they tend to be more than that. Whereas Australian Shepherds, they're going to be 65 plus. They look a lot bigger, but it's really because they have a lot of hair and a lot of fluff going on that is kind of deceiving. But they're definitely bigger. They have longer legs, which can be advantageous for, covering more ground. But, the endurance level is something you don't need to worry about with either of these breeds. So they're both very high endurance levels. Aesthetically, guys, for me personally, I prefer the cattle dog. I know, just based off ranking on AKC of how many registered dogs there are out there between the two, Australian Shepherds are much more common. You see them a lot more. Personally, I just like the more rugged and simple look of cattle dogs. That was what drew me to them originally. But going down kind of the temperament list, like we talked about, it just seemed like a cattle dog was a better fit for me. And, where I'm at right now, I don't have young kids or anything. That's something to consider. I would say, Australian Shepherd, better with kids, better with families. But cattle dogs are a little bit maybe more rugged. And, sorry, Cowboy's whining in the background because I'm talking to my phone. He's like, why are you talking to your phone? But yeah, guys, that was kind of my thought process behind these two breeds. They're both awesome dogs. They can both be trained to do just about anything, but they definitely have different personalities and different coats. Those are probably the two main things I would consider as the differences, because they're both going to be, high drive, high energy, high IQs. But, if you don't mind taking care of an Australian Shepherd's coat because you like how they look, then that might be for you. If you want a little bit more simple coat, Australian cattle dog. But also the last kind of thing to consider too was, Australian cattle dogs can be a little bit more standoffish with strangers, a little bit more protective and vigilant watchdogs, whereas I think Australian Shepherds would alert to any fishy business, but they are a little bit more friendly of a dog, and they spread that love a little bit more within the family than a heeler. So I hope this kind of gave you guys some insight into these two breeds and my experiences with them, and they're both badass dogs for sure. I mean, look at them. If I ever got an Aussie, I'd get the black with the white collar. I think that's a good look. If you guys like the video, make sure you hit like and subscribe if you aren't already. We got more videos and dog comparisons. Guys, go ahead and let me know in the comments below like that. I was looking for one like that. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what breeds you would like to see compared with a cattle dog, because I basically considered all of them, and I know a decent amount about most breeds. I might have to do one with a Malinois. So thank you, and we will catch you in the next video.